Hey MTG fans! Welcome to another episode of All's Fair in Love and Lore. This week's episode is all about the Theros Pantheon. You've probably heard of the plane of Theros in Magic the Gathering, but if you suffer from plebeianism like me, you may not know what a pantheon is. According to Merriam-Webster, a pantheon refers to the gods of a people. In this case, we're referring to the gods of Theros, which is very much similar to ancient Hellenic Greece. You know, Greek gods and shit. Theros is overseen by a pantheon of 15 powerful deities who reside in Nyx, but frequently take on various forms to walk among mortals. The Theros sets, Theros, Born of the Gods, and Journey into Nyx, as well as the return in Theros Beyond Death, explore the mythology and stories surrounding these gods, their followers, and their conflicts, adding rich flavor and thematic depth to the MTG universe. So each god has a unique color identity. The 5 core gods are monocolored and form the central pillars of the Therosian belief system. Heliod represents white, Thassa represents blue, Erebos represents black, Perforos represents red, and Nylea represents green. The 10 minor gods, representing 2 color pairings, were introduced later in the expansions Born of the Gods and Journey into Nyx. Nyx is the celestial realm where the gods reside. It is depicted as a starry night sky and is a place of dreams and divine influence. The gods can manifest in Nyx and on Theros itself, interacting with mortals and influencing the plane's events. In Magic the Gathering, the gods of Theros are represented by legendary enchantment creatures with the indestructible ability and a devotion mechanic, which requires a certain number of colored mana symbols among permanents you control to become creatures. This mechanic ties the gods' power to the player's commitment to their color identity. With that little splash of background, let's dive into the gods of Theros. First on our list is Heliod, the sun god. Represented by white, he wields the sun spear Crusaor. As the patron of law, retribution, and morality, Heliod's presence illuminates all of Theros, serving as an ever-watchful eye. He's considered the most powerful of the gods and ruler of the Pantheon, though this is largely his own belief. Heliod's arrogance leads to conflicts, notably with Perforos, the god of the Forge, and eventually results in his betrayal of his own champion, Elspeth. Heliod created the great weapon Godsend for Elspeth, which she used to slay Xenagos, but he ultimately used the same weapon to betray her. That's crazy. Next is Thassa, the great goddess of the sea. Represented by blue, she once wielded the bident Dakella until it was stolen. Bident? Is that like a trident, but 2 prongs instead of 3? Yes, it is. I just Googled it. Anyway, she once wielded that bident until it was stolen by the planeswalker Kiora. Thassa, the patron of knowledge, time, and introspection, commands the great sea of Theros and its gigantic creatures. Offerings must be made to her before any voyage, and the seafaring people of Melidus have erected, grand temples in her honor. Third is Erebos, who resides in the underworld rather than Nyx. Represented by black, he wields the whip Mastix to pull the unwilling dead to their final resting place. Spicy. As the patron of misfortune, envy, and death, Erebos was born from the first shadow to touch Theros and was cast down to the underworld by Heliod. Worship of Erebos often occurs in back alleys and on deathbeds by those wishing for fortune taken from others or pleading to remain among the living. The fourth major god is Perforos, the god of forge and shaper of Theros. Represented by red, he wields the hammer Akhmon. Close enough. To mold the very mountains. As the patron of artisans, fire, and passion, his grand designs inspire mortals to create great works, elevating craftsmanship to new heights. The final major god is Nylea, the protector of the woods and natural order. Represented by green, she wields the bow Iphixis, which Elspeth used to slay Xenagos. Okay, so when Elspeth and Xenagos were battling, Nylea had actually already shot Xenagos with her bow and arrow, but Elspeth chucked her spear, the one that I mentioned earlier, into the arrowhead that was already in Xenagos' chest, and it exploded, and it just absolutely shredded Xenagos. That's sick. Anywho, as the patron of the seasons, the hunt, and metamorphosis, Nylea despises the cities of mortals and their agriculture, viewing them as misuse of natural resources. Alright, let's move on to the minor gods. And we're going to do this the fast and furious way. Aetherios, god of passage, representing white and black. Ifara, god of the polis, representing white and blue. Eros, god of victory, representing red and white. Karametra, god of harvests, representing green and white. Keranos, god of storms, representing blue and red. Clothis, god of destiny, representing red and green. Krufix, god of horizons, representing green and blue. Mogis, god of slaughter, representing black and red. Farika, god of affliction, representing black and green. And Finax, god of deception, representing blue and black. And technically, you can include Xenagos, god of rebels. He was a satyr planeswalker who ascended to godhood, but then he got offed. So, yeah. Alright, let's talk Magic cards. There are a ton of cards that represent or are associated with or refer to Theros and the Theros Pantheon, but I'll keep it as short and sweet as I can. The plane of Theros itself is represented in the Nyx Plane Chase card. Associated cards include Invasion of Theros and Soul of Theros. And here are some cards that represent the big five. I feel like it's only fitting for Heliod to have the most cards that he's directly represented in. Heliod, god of the sun. Heliod, the radiant dawn. Heliod, sun-crowned. And Heliod, the warped eclipse. Thassa is represented in Thassa, deep dwelling. And Thassa, god of the sea. Erebos is represented in Erebos, bleak-hearted. And Erebos, god of the dead. Perforos is represented in Perforos, bronze-blooded, and Perforos, god of the forge. And lastly, we have Nylea, who is represented in Nylea, god of the hunt, and Nylea, keen-eyed. I hope you guys enjoyed this very, very, very brief episode on the Theros Pantheon. If you want to know about any more of these specifically, or you have ideas for other characters, places, or events in MTG history, leave a comment. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and as always, thanks for hanging out with me.